The only reason I'm not playing the Game of Thrones theme right now is fear of getting sued. Honestly, I don't. You think they would? Winter is coming. The winter of death, as Joe Biden put it, which he said was going to come this winter. We were all going to die of COVID because not enough people were vaccinated or some, I don't know, insanity, which never actually happened the way he wanted to scare us all into being. Well, it's coming. It is coming. It's not me who's saying it, although I have said it. It's not because I've had guests on the show like economist Matt Will, Dr. Matt Will, who have said it. I now have Deutsche Bank saying it. They say that the R word is coming. The winter of death is coming, and just in time for a presidential election. Welcome, everybody, to the Morning Rumble. I'm Tony Katz. It's always good to be with you, presented by the good people at Americans for Prosperity. AmericansForProsperity.org. You got to check them out and be a part of it. They do good work. I'm a fan of what they do. I was supposed to check what they were talking about today. Americans for Prosperity. I will get into that. But first, let me show you this. This was where I got the headline from. Biden warns of the winter of death. You remember this? Now we're dealing with a variant called BA.2. Which is a takeoff of Omicron, but it makes up the majority of cases in the United States, like 72%, but it is absolutely positively not killing people. It's just not doing that. And so they want to still create fear, and you hear Dr. Fauci talk about we may have to reinstitute masks. Masks don't work. So I don't know what we'd have to reinstitute. America's not down with reinstituting it. I say we don't reinstitute any part of things that didn't work. Lockdowns and masks only terrorized kids and adults alike, and we have to learn from it. We have to learn from that horror and say we're not doing that again. And guys like Dr. Fauci aren't actually interested in medicine, and that's what it looks like to a great number of us. But that's not the story, guys. Let's get into the story. The story here is this. U.S. recession in late 2023 is now the base case for Deutsche Bank. That's bad freaking news. The markets right now, down 247 in the Dow. The NASDAQ is down 327. And check this out right here. Oh, actually, let me see if I can get rid of that stuff. Boom. I'll do this. This right here from the Fed. Acutely concerned about inflation, sees deliberate rate hikes. Yeah, but we're not surprised by this because we've been talking about this. The Fed clearly is interested in 1.75% of an interest rate hike going into the end of the year. We were going to see 7 hikes, and the first one was at a quarter point. So you take that's 1.75%. This makes you think that they're talking about going a little bit bigger than that. They're that worried about inflation. No, stagflation. You keep the supply chain issues at a maximum. Therefore, you're keeping prices having to go up because we don't have enough supply. You still have cash in the system that you simply refuse to stop spending on, and therefore the inflation rate keeps. And that doesn't go down. It's stagflation. Well, this is where we're at. This is what the Biden administration has put on us. If you won't engage the idea of energy security, you're going to have high inflation. And the Fed sees this. The Fed sees this. So I was talking about there, let me pull this up. Patrick Harker, right here, president of the Philadelphia Fed, warning about inflation and the interest rate hikes needed to control rising prices. And you also have the San Francisco Fed president, Mary Daly, expressing these concerns. Well, no kidding. And so are the rest of us on Midwest Main Street. Wall Street may not be, even though right now they've got a down market, but they're making money in the up and the down and the this and that and the what have you. We're the ones who are living the everyday life of this, the everyday life of supply chain issues, the everyday life of stuff like this. Mortgages crossed 5% the other day. Now, historically, that is an incredibly low number. But as of, these last years where interest rates were near nothing and I mean, I bought a car in November. We kids are going to start driving, right? And so needed a car. I'm not buying them a car. What are you, crazy? I'll buy myself a car. They can have the minivan, right? I dealt with the 1987 Mercury Topaz. Don't tell me about your problems. And so gonna get the minivan. So got something for ourselves and managed to get it at 1.99. Now, admittedly, I have pretty good credit. I built it up over the years after having lost everything a little more than a decade ago. I could not have gotten that deal 6 years ago. I could get that deal today. But if I had not purchased the used car, it was a used car, then that car would be worth $6,000. That car would have cost me $6,000 more. It's worth $6,000 more, $6,000 more now than it was when I bought it in November. And I don't think I get that interest rate. Do you? As all these things go up, the purchasing power goes down. This affects Midwest Main Street. That's who it affects. So the question for the Biden administration is, how can you keep telling us everything is fine? Sipping your tea like you're Kermit. It's not fine. They keep trying to sell us on this idea that it's all good because we've made more jobs. We've created more jobs than ever before. Look at all the jobs we've created. They haven't created a job. The Biden administration has not created a single job anywhere. People going back to work is not job creation. Then you've got Biden officials who are bragging about how they've brought down gas prices.
On here was down about $7 per barrel. And I know that the last time, check it out, because these data are actually quite accessible. Look at what happened to the price, the retail price of gasoline after the last release. Now, it's a global market and there's a lot of moving parts, but it is a fact that the price of gasoline fell about 10 cents per gallon shortly after it.
10 cents a gallon. You're releasing 1 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve into the U.S. economy a day. 10 cents. That still has you above $4 a gallon. By the way, Brent crude is at $107 a barrel, not under $100. We are regularly above $100 a barrel, when before Biden was in office, we were at $60 a barrel. What was better? America doesn't need that much convincing that things are bad. But the Biden administration is really hell-bent on somehow making you think that this winter of death is actually good for you, right? All the things they're doing are actually excellent things they're doing. And when it's getting bad, well, the answer is you should just go buy an electric vehicle.
As an example of electric vehicle benefits, $6,000 will be the savings for the purchaser of an electric vehicle over the course of the lifetime of that vehicle, because it's so low maintenance, because there are so few moving parts. But more than that, charging an electric vehicle is so much cheaper than filling up your gas vehicle, especially now.
The electric vehicle on average costs $55,000. So what's cheaper? That's Jennifer Granholm, the former governor of Michigan. She's the energy secretary. She was terrible as governor. She's terrible as energy secretary. Their answer to everything is buy an electric car. First, how do we power the electric cars? Secondly, how do we afford the electric cars when the price of everything is going up and the interest rates are going up, giving me less purchasing power? How does that happen? The inflation has already taken away any real raise I've gotten, real wage increase that I've gotten. We get this. And this is the part that I will admit blows my mind, because the Biden administration, I think, understands that we get this. The Biden administration understands that we understand. Yet they continue to push forth the idea that somehow they can convince us that it's good for us. So that's what they do with green, as we know, and I don't mean to repeat myself here, but understand that the value they see in what's happening, never let a crisis go to waste, they're all Rahm Emanuel acolytes, is that oil prices are up. That's good. It makes green look, affordable by comparison, and now we can get to green energy. I'm going to put forth a theory. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me in the comments at Rumble, rumble.com/Tony Katz. Even if you're watching at Facebook, head over to Rumble, rumble.com/Tony Katz, and start commenting there. That's where we want to see a lot of the growth and a lot of the movement, right? We want to get more people over to Rumble because you can't, unless Elon Musk is going to start buying Facebook, you can't trust Facebook. You just can't do it. The very idea that we trust the numbers, the very idea that we would trust the Biden administration. I say to you, none of us really have an issue with electric cars. I don't think we mind electric cars. I don't think we give a rat's what about electric cars. We're cool with it. Go ahead, sell them. You want the Tesla? Fine. Prius? Fine. The E-Mach, which is the Ford Mustang, which is the weirdest. Why you called it the Mustang? Have you seen this thing? It looks like a crossover, and they call it a Mustang. It's not a Mustang. The Mustang's the freaking Mustang. Everything else is something else. So just call it something else. Bad marketing, as I see it, by Ford, but they could be selling 1 billion of them for all I know. Now, the Ford F-150 Lightning, man, that thing has sold. So people are fine with electric vehicles. But we haven't figured out how we're going to power the electric vehicle. So when you tell me, like I think it's Volvo, they're going to move the whole fleet electric, well, that's great. How do they get powered? And how do we deal with all the cars already on the road? The answer is too bad. Well, if you listen to the Secretary of Energy, Jennifer Granholm, the answer is yeah. You're not allowed to keep that car that utilizes gas on the road. You have to go to this. Look at the force. Not market forces, government forces. Cafe standards that have you at 49 miles to the gallon. I don't want 49 miles to the gallon. I want a car that can survive an accident. I want my kid walking out of the car. You can replace the car. I can't replace the kid. That's what I want. But they don't want that. They want government force. So much of this conversation is part of the reason, is much of the reason I work with Americans for Prosperity. It is the opposition to this force of government thinking they know best. Well, electric cars isn't what's best because the electric cars have to be charged. And where does that energy come from if we as a nation are not energy secure? It isn't about electric cars, is it? Once you break it down, it's never been about electric cars. It's about how do we power them? And we can't. We can't power them without gas. We can't power them without a fuel source. It can't be done. And those fuel sources are out there. And yet we have a political party that hates them and wants to prevent the energy security in the United States from happening. And that's part of the reason why we get these higher rates, why we see this inflation, why we see the building up of a coming recession, as Deustche Bank has explained. This is happening, but it's happening right as we start an election for president. That's just the timing for Joe Biden. Oh, lovely, I tell you. It's not about electric cars. It's about how we survive. It's about how we deal with these things. Going all electric is not the answer. Electric is fine. Going all electric is ridiculous. We have very, very good vehicles out there that are very, very fuel efficient. And then we've got some kick-ass trucks that people actually want to drive. We don't want smart cars. They're not very smart. Never have been. But this 1-2 punch of recession, and then what happens when the real estate market is like, we're not selling houses like we used to. Things only get worse. Let me go to the comments right here. Exactly. I want my family walking out of the car. Brittany, that's all I want. That is all it's like when your kid calls you at 2 a.m. and they need to get picked up. Do you really care that your kid called at 2 a.m.? You're mad at them for being at the party? Or you're just absolutely overjoyed and thrilled that they called? One more day of my kid being alive. Look at me. I think that's how most parents think about things. I think that's how most parents react to things. Over there on Rumble, is it Marley? Maierle. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Hey, what's up? I'm looking for a new job because my employer is taking a policy of no more raises because they can't afford it. The one employer that brags about its continual raises and benefits is federal agencies. That is true. That is true. Your employer has taken a position of no more raises? All right. Well, that's interesting because the argument is that the inflation has and the supply chain issues has cut into the profitability of creating X, Y, and Z, and there isn't the money to give the raises. Right? That's the other side of it, because the raise conversation is the idea of how do you keep and retain employees in a world where people aren't coming to work. Well, that's a pretty interesting comment. The idea that the employer can't give the raises, so can't keep the employees, and these things build on themselves and destroy business, thus hurting the economy. So why does Joe Biden keep telling us that somehow things are good? That's the part. That's the part that blows the mind. He keeps telling us that things are good. They keep trying to sell us on how great this economy is and how solid it is and how robust it is. And you see people like Jennifer Rubin lying through her damn teeth. We can all admit Jennifer Rubin is a liar. And clearly, whatever happened in the Trump years, it messed with her mind. She's a mess. She is pseudo-intellectual trash at this stage of the game, not because she has to be, because she chooses to be. You know, the fundamentals of the economy look great. Well, I've got one comment here by Marley. Is it Marley? And clearly that's not the case. Clearly that's not the case. Things are not good. And for the record, it's not like I like that. I think there's some people who like, yeah, Biden's done this and Biden's done that. Look how bad it is. Let's not forget there's a real human element here. There's Marley, who can't get the raise. That's a real person. Our friend Marley can't get the raise. And then there's the business that can't afford the raise, so therefore can't afford her. And how do they survive and thrive? That's what we should be talking about. It's not just enough to say, oh, it's going to hurt Biden, this economy. That's good for people who want to vote against him. It's not. That's some low-hanging fruit crap, dude. What the hell? Why are you pushing that? Instead, there are real people here who are really affected, and we gotta talk about those people. We gotta engage with those people, figure out a way to make that better, and that only comes if Biden is willing to accept the fact that his plan isn't working. And the answer is no. Oh gosh, he's not willing at all. He is so absolutely surrounded by these radical progressives who only have the ideological wish list. All they do is dream about the high oil prices so they can make green work. It's all about the green, not discussing what it's doing to the rest of us. If you take a look at Ocasio-Cortez's nonsense, childlike Green New Deal thing, right, which was never a bill, it's never legislation, but they just take the idea of it and they implement it here and they implement it there. One of the conversations that piece of that childlike idea had, it wasn't a bill, it wasn't legislation, was that it would reduce carbon emissions to the amount technologically feasible. Let's talk about the danger of that. What does that actually mean? If you told me we're going to try and reduce carbon emissions by 5%, okay, that's a goal. 5% is this compared to 100%, let's say, which is this. But if you reduce carbon emissions to the amount technologically feasible, I can do that by telling you you're not allowed to turn on your engine. I can reduce all carbon emissions on a Wednesday by saying no one's allowed to run their car or any machinery on a Wednesday. Because to the extent technologically feasible, turn the key, turn it off. So if she's discussing the idea of reducing emissions to the amount technologically feasible, she's talking about cutting things off. If you want to talk about this on a farm, no tractors, no combines, nothing. How are you going to get food? Doesn't matter. We've lowered carbon emissions. I mean, that's it. That's where, by the way, you didn't think you'd see a dance. We got it all here at the Morning Rumble, presented by Americans for Prosperity. That's what she's saying. She's saying shut it down. She's advocating for it. She believes in it. Remember, she's also the person who drives through the Midwest and mocks the fact that there are no people. Well, where the hell are you going to grow the soybeans, kid? Where else is the wheat coming from? 42nd and 2nd? Doesn't work like that. You need some space to grow the food. She made that video, and I was like, wow, this is her Michael Bloomberg moment. When Bloomberg was running for office, it's easy to be a farmer. You dig a hole, you put a seed in the hole, you add some water, up comes the corn. The man has never been to Indiana. I can guarantee you that one right there. But this is where Ocasio-Cortez is at. This is where the leftists are at. It is about ending this thing over here. And it's the thing that the Midwest and places outside the Beltway run on and operate on. It's where you and I live and breathe. It's where we have our jobs. It's where Marley works. And they don't give a crap and a damn about Marley. She's still looking for a new job. And by the way, she's going to tell me if her name's Marley. I guarantee you that right there. Ham Sensei and the power grid will support charging these vehicles. The answer is no. And this is the big one. We can't, I mean, even Elon Musk has discussed this. We cannot charge all of the vehicles. We can't do it. I'm not opposed to electric, but we can't do what we can't do. And you already have people waiting in huge lines to get charged as they're driving along here, there, and everywhere. Why does the Jimmy Carter era come to mind? Because if you compared it to the Trump era, you'd be wrong. I mean, that's why it comes to mind. But I will tell you this. Maybe it comes to mind because Biden will also be a one-term president. I don't know. It isn't about the gas prices. It's about the malaise. Remember the malaise speech. Jimmy Carter is a malaise that's come over the nation, as I paraphrase it there. That's what did him in, because there was no hopeful. There was no uplift. There was no movement to seeing the better tomorrow. And here comes Reagan talking about the shining city on a hill. And you're like, damn, I'm following that guy. So Biden doesn't have it. Biden is a depressed, sad guy. How do I know this? Winter of death. He said it. He warned of a winter of death for the unvaccinated, which, by the way, didn't come as he said it there. Just so we're clear. Let me see what else I got going on here. This is Mac Harris. Mac, what is going on? Railroads are getting to a tipping point with employees. The more with less strategy to increase shareholder profits is going to hurt the supply chain even more. So the more with less, and there are a lot of people doing this. And as we learned from the Marley conversation, what if they're forced to? What if they need to do more with less because the supply chain issues have brought down the profit margin, and they can't afford to do what they may have normally done or bring on more people, et cetera. So these things do compound, right? They do create issue in each other. But if you're discussing the idea that rail isn't going to be able to deliver product because we don't have the people, well, we are already living that right now. You may have some insider understanding or a knowledge base, a history there, far better than I do. But we had Biden say, we're going to run the ports 24/7. And what did we say? We said, just because he says it doesn't mean to change how the ports run. It doesn't mean they're going to be running actually 24/7. Where are you going to get the people? Where are you going to get the technology? We have not kept up with technology on the port. So how does this work? And sure enough, the ports are not working 24/7. How do you convince those longshoremen and break that union in order to do that? We have problem on problem on problem that doesn't get fixed with platitudes or putting 1 million barrels of oil into the system from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, thus putting us more at risk. So I'm not saying you're wrong about the railroads. I'm not saying that you're wrong about that at all. I am saying that there are a bunch of reasons for things that go on. And there is more than just one cascading element of this all. Over there at Americans for Prosperity, where they're talking about solutions that will make life more affordable for everyday Americans, they're focusing on trade, and they're focusing on the flexible workforce. Now, this flexible workforce conversation I should get into, because this is a big problem for downtowns, and I haven't figured out how to solve it for them. people may like working at home. If they like working at home, what's the point of all those big office buildings? How do you keep them full? If the office buildings aren't full, what about the restaurants that are down below and the tailor and the this, the that, and the other, and the parking garages and everything else? And then how do you have a vibrant city? Whoo! That's a big, giant issue. But you also need a workforce that's happy and being able to do the work that is necessary. And there might be trade-offs when the inflation is so high and the dollars aren't there to be able to pay them. Just saying it the way it is. Michael is welcoming Generation Z to the Carter administration 2.0 because you missed it the first time. You didn't miss anything. You really didn't miss anything at all. I just want to be perfectly clear about that. Make sure you are over there at Rumble, rumble.com/Tony Katz, and you want to comment there. You want to be watching the show over there as well. And then you want to join Locals. Just click on the join Locals. We've got a lot of content going on that is subscriber-based, things you won't get anywhere else. It is over there at Locals. The show grows, it continues, and I appreciate you. Again, send me, who do you want to see interviews with? We want to be building that up. That is the next step. Right there. Who do we want to talk to? Who do we want to get information from? Tony at TonyKatz.com. You can email me. It's actually my email, Tony at TonyKatz.com. Email me or send me a message, and we will start those interviews. We will get that done. My thanks to Americans for Prosperity, and they're fantastic letting us do this show right here. Where are they? Boom, there they are. Americans for Prosperity.org. Appreciate them. Guys, I'll catch you tomorrow. Be good.